they called him the Silver Tongue. But when a silent stranger gave him a mirror that reflected truth rather than charm, he saw a man he did not recognize. In the highlands of Arden, where stone cottages clung to the hills like moss, there lived a man named Calrin. He was not a warrior or farmer, but a speaker, gifted beyond measure. Words flowed from him like water over polished rock. He spoke in the town squares of Ravelin and Brayholt, and even the lords of Dunmore called him to their halls for counsel. People said Calrin's tongue was dipped in silver, and they came to him not for bread or healing, but for the comfort of being heard, dazzled, and gently persuaded. The more praise he received, the more carefully he sculpted his speech, until it gleamed brighter than the message it carried. One cold morning, as mist curled over the moors, a woman in a weather-stained cloak appeared at his stone threshold. Her eyes were pale grey, her hands veined and strong. She said nothing, only nodded when Calrin asked if she sought counsel. "I've spoken to men who've lost everything," Calrin said, leaning forward. "Or women who've buried children. Say nothing if you must, but I promise there is nothing beyond the reach of words." Still, she did not speak, so Calrin performed. He offered her metaphors, parables, glimmering aphorisms. He lifted his voice and lowered it, careful to shape each syllable like a sculptor's blade. He spoke of meaning, of fate, of light beyond sorrow. When he finished, she stood and said only, "You've learned to shape light, but you've forgotten the sun." She reached into her satchel and placed a small mirror on the table. Its frame was iron, rough and unadorned. "This shows not how you appear," she said, "but what you are when no one is looking. Use it, if you dare." Then she turned and walked into the mist. Alone in his cottage, Calrin peered into the mirror. At first he saw himself as others did, handsome, confident, the furrowed brow of one who thinks deeply. But when he began to speak, to rehearse a phrase he'd been refining for a lord's wedding, the reflection shimmered. His image blurred, face elongating, his voice in the glass growing hollow, theatrical, a performer, a mask. He tried again, this time muttering a half-formed thought, a truth he'd never quite known how to say aloud. The mirror steadied, his image clarified. There were lines beneath his eyes, his voice cracked, but he looked human, real. That night, Calrin left Arden and wandered the highlands. He no longer sought crowds, but places where people needed no performance, only presence. In time, fewer knew his name. Those who did rarely spoke of his eloquence, but they remembered the way they had felt in his company, seen, understood, unburdened, and in quiet moments, by firelight or stream, Calrin would take out the iron mirror, not to admire, but to remember who he was when the words were stripped away.